Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be going over dietetic internships. More specifically, I'm going to be going over the distance dietetic internship, some tips on how I got in, application process, and the distance internship explained thoroughly. So if you're interested in watching, then let's just go ahead and get started. So chances are, if you're watching this video, you're either a student of nutrition in college right now and you're thinking about going into the dietetics realm, or you're looking into the nutrition field and you're not quite sure what internships you should be applying to. I'm here to talk to you about the distance dietetic internship, if it's right for you, some of the requirements that you're going to need before applying, and then also some tips too. So a dietetic internship is required in order to become a registered dietitian or an RD. What that means is that you need at least 1,200 of supervised hours by preceptors, which are going to essentially be your bosses for each rotation of each month. And they're going to be looking after you, you're going to be shadowing them, and they're going to be supervising you to make sure that you're meeting all of your program's requirements. So typically with these rotations, it'll include clinical, which is inpatient, and that can be at a hospital, short-term or long-term. Food service is also another rotation. This can be at a school, it can be at a hospital, and then the next rotation is going to be community. Now with community, that can be at a wellness center, it can be like at WIC, things of that sort. And then possibly an elective rotation will be one of the rotations that you get to have. Now with an elective, it depends on what you want to do. For me, I'm going to be doing sports nutrition at the Ironman. Or if your interest is pediatrics, you could always work an elective rotation at a children's hospital and have that be your area of interest. So it just kind of differs. A little bit of background about myself. I applied to my first dietetic internship when I was still in college. Now, may I just tell you that I did not have a ton of experience working outside of MyFitFoods at the time. My GPA was mediocre. It wasn't like fabulous, but it wasn't bad, so I was kind of like in between. And I also was not still completed with all of my courses. And another additional thing, that my personal statement that I made was absolutely terrible. So I did not get in, and rightfully so, because I had no idea what I was doing through the process. But when I graduated, I figured that I had to do some things in order to get into an internship within a year or 2 years. So the first thing is I went to work. I remember thinking that I was probably going to end up working at a hospital as a DTR, and I ended up getting a job at a private practice under a sports medicine physician and family physician, which was really, really cool. It was really tough work, but I'm really grateful for that experience, and that most definitely expanded my horizons, my mind, my brain, and my clinical experience as well. So I had that job. I also studied and took the DTR exam, and that's a certification, which is, the DTR stands for Dietetic Technician Registered. That's just a good exam to take, so that way whenever you do apply to dietetic internships, they can kind of have an idea of how you'll do on the actual RD exam, because even though they have different questions, they're still formatted similarly, so if that makes sense. And the last thing is I applied to a master's program. I am finishing up my master's program in sports dietetics and fitness right now, and I'm going to be done in a couple of months, but I did know that having a higher education would also very much increase my probability of getting into a dietetic internship, because it shows that you have perseverance to keep on continuing your education. So those are the top tips that I would give you right off the bat, is to 1, take your DTR exam, 2, get a job to make sure that you have nutrition experience, and 3, if it's possible, if it's something that you can manage financially, to apply to our master's program. So next, you have to decide whenever you're applying to dietetic internships if you want to apply on-site or if you want to apply distance. Now, what on-site means is that essentially the school that you're applying to has all of your preceptors lined up for you. That means that you won't have to be calling, you won't have to be trying to find preceptors to line up for your rotations. Everything will be beautifully lined up for you. You may get to choose a couple of your rotation sites, but otherwise everything will pretty much be set out for you. As far as a distance program goes, you will have to set up all of your rotations. Now, there's good and bad sides to this, and I'll get to that. But with a distance internship, it's really great because you do get to choose your preceptors. Although it is a lot of work to have to call and have people say no, maybe, yes, all of those type of things, it's great because you can essentially call all around your area, make a list of who you want your preceptors to be, and chances are you're going to have a good amount of people that say yes, but you might have a handful of people that say no. You want to make sure you have a ton of options when it comes to preceptors, especially when it comes to the distance internship. One of the tips that I have to give you is just assume that the preceptor that you call will say yes, and there will be nothing that's holding you back. I know that a lot of dietetic students are ambivalent to apply for the distance internships just because you do have to constantly call, clinical facilities and community and elective rotations, all this different stuff without not knowing if you're going to be able to lock those down. But I'm just here to tell you that it is very much possible. It does take some work, but after you have everything just lined up, it's so great because you can essentially make your own schedule and your own rotations, which is amazing. So I chose distance as opposed to on-site just because I wanted to stay close to home here in Houston, and my top choice was actually University of Houston. They have a 6-month accelerated fast-paced program, and that is one that I just wanted to get into. I really did not want to extend my internship to a year and a half, or even 2 years. That's just way too long for me. I've been in school, it feels like forever now, so I'm just ready to get done and become a registered dietitian already and just get to work. So that's why I chose a distance internship. So some of the benefits of a distance internship is, for one, similarly to what I had said earlier, is that you do get to pick your own sites and your preceptors. So if you want to make a list of the best facilities all around you in your hometown, in your home area, make a long list. And for the most part, the worst that preceptors can say is no. And I kept an open mind when I went in, and I really had the mindset of, I'm going to call each and every single one of these people. I'm going to sell myself, and if they say no, that's okay, but at least I tried. And just for even trying, it really did have such a great outcome, and that effort that was put in, the outcome was beautiful. And I'm so happy with the rotation, the preceptors that I have right now. Now, the second thing is flexible scheduling. The great thing about a distance internship is that you can really lay out your rotations however you want. If you want to start off with food service first because you want to get it over with, you can do that. Personally, that's what I'm doing. And then I'm doing my clinicals, and then I'm doing my elective, and then I'm doing community. So you get to do it in whichever order you want to. Now, the third thing is you get to stay close to home. There's nothing better than that. You don't have to go to another state, try to learn, all these different cities and things you want to do and eat and people. If you want to do that, that's amazing. For me, I just wanted to stay here, just get it done, get it over with, and I'm going to do my traveling after I'm done. So now the fourth thing is the ability to select specific sites. If there have been a couple of facilities or sites that you've just really had your eye on and you're just really anticipating to get into there, you have the opportunity to be able to reach out to the dietitian and ask them if they can be your preceptor. Now, some of the downsides, which I don't feel like there's too many, but the first thing is you may have to replace a facility that ends up dropping out. For me, I had one preceptor that I locked down at a psychiatric facility actually, and she ended up not working there anymore, so I had to find a replacement even after I got into my internship. And honestly, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal, but you do have to think about, you know, if you have a preceptor that either for one may not come through with being your boss, or for two, they may end up leaving the facility or getting, you know, laid off, whatever the reason may be, you will have to find a replacement for him or her. Now, the second thing is, which this may not necessarily be a downside, but you do have to be very, very self-motivated to go through a distance internship. You're not going to have anyone telling you, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to send, this is the paperwork you need to be filled out, this is the projects that you have to start working on, and this is the exact time when you have to start studying for the RD exam. You are not going to have someone to be on top of you to tell you all those different things. You have to be very self-motivated, and you have to really want to be able to be very organized so that way you don't miss anything. So just some personality qualities that I feel are very important for a distant internship is that, one, you have to have very good communication. You're going to be talking to these preceptors in and out every single day. You're going to be emailing them like crazy. You have to be very good with communication. If you have a preceptor that drops out, you have to communicate to your director that you're getting a new one, and then there's just a ton of, you know, communication that has to be going on. You also have to have a high level of self-management. There's going to be a ton of times where you just have to manage your own self. Going off what I had said before is you are not going to have anybody telling you what you need to do. You just have to do it. As far as personal statement goes, when you're applying to a distance internship, I worked on my personal statement for about 3 months. This is where you have the opportunity to sell yourself. Every achievement that you have accomplished since you graduated college, or even if you're in college, this is where you lay it all out. This is where the directors are going to see who you really are, what would make you different from other interns, and what's going to make you any different from anybody else applying to their program. So that's something you really want to spend just a good amount of time on, and you want to make sure there's no errors, edit as much as possible. You're going to be making a ton of different changes to your personal statement, but at the end of the day, again, this is something that you really just have to sell yourself to. And for me, I know that Sharon Bodie, who is the director of the distance internship at University of Houston, I knew she was really looking for a well-rounded person, and I literally applied every single thing I possibly could to my personal statement to sell the heck out of myself. Like I really felt like I could have just put a price on me and she would have bought me, and I feel like that's what happened. So this is your chance to brag a little bit. You don't want to be too cocky, but you do want to show off things that you have achieved in your time, either in college or outside of college. Next thing is you have to have awesome references. For me, I had 3 references that gave me a great letter of recommendation. I had a nurse practitioner, my office manager at the private practice, and then also a dietitian that I worked with daily. So those 3 worked really well for me. Although none of them were academic professors, I did feel that they worked the best and that they would actually give a letter of reference that told the directors who I am, my work ethic, because I did work with them daily. Now, you do want to get special permission if you don't have an academic professor that you feel is going to write a great letter of recommendation for you. For me, I had been out of college for 2 years, and even though I'm in my master's program, it's online, so I didn't really get to have that face-to-face contact with an actual professor. So I felt more comfortable with asking the people that I worked with. So you do want to make sure that you're choosing people that know your personality, that know your work ethic, and can really just write you a phenomenal letter of recommendation, because this is where the directors will see who you truly are and why you're going to be so good as a dietetic intern in their internship. So GPA, as far as GPA goes, I'm not going to touch too much on this because you either have a really great GPA or you don't, or you have a mediocre one. For me, in my nutrition program, I had a GPA of a 3.8, which is really great. However, in my undergrad program, I only had a 3.0, which is considered not amazing, but not bad either. It's like in between. That's not something that's going to impress someone when you're applying to an internship. So if you feel like your GPA is low and you really want to either boost it up or further your education, definitely consider applying to a master's program. I know that a lot of internships, do look at GPA a lot more. For University of Houston, they were looking for more of a well-rounded person as far as the distance internship goes. And that's why I applied there, because my GPA was okay. Nutrition GPA was really great, but I had more nutrition experience. I had furthered my education, and I took that DTR exam. So that kind of proved that I was a little bit more well-rounded versus just being so academics. Don't get me wrong, that's really important, especially in your nutrition program. You want to make sure you have a great GPA when you graduate college for your DPD program, but don't get so involved in that where you feel like if you have a 3.0 or even lower that you're not going to get into a dietetic internship, because that's definitely not true. It just means that you have a lot of areas that you may want to improve on in order to show the directors that you do belong to an internship. So just a couple of last few tips before I end this video. Make sure that you have strong leadership skills. Whether you're applying to a dietetic internship or you're in a dietetic internship, leadership skills go so far. If you are in college and you're involved in a nutrition club or a cooking club or a gardening club, whatever it may be, show some initiative and take up a position to where you can either be, president or vice president or secretary, treasurer, whatever it may be. Showing those leadership skills really show that you are able to lead other people, set a really good example, and that's something that is always necessary and always needed. And it also shows when you're in your internship, you can take the initiative to really just get the ball rolling, get things going, and take that upon yourself to make sure you're a leader. Now, the next thing is learn from your weaknesses and how you have improved from them. If your weakness is, you take on too many things and you juggle them, but you don't really put 100% in all of them, then maybe choose 2 of those things and do your best at those. If your weakness is having a low GPA, then make sure you're a well-rounded person. If your weakness is you have a high GPA, but you don't have enough experience, go get some experience. You have to be able to find your own personal weaknesses, throw out the pride, and fix yourself in these areas where, well, not fix, but improve yourself in these areas that could really help make you a better intern. Now, the next thing is show self-determination and drive. I cannot tell you enough, drive is so important. You want to make sure these directors know that you are ready, you're ready to go, you're on top of it, you're on your A game, and that's really important, especially when it comes to a distance internship. Now, the last thing is be confident in everything that you put your mind to. Whether it's to apply to an on-site internship or apply to a distance internship or apply out of state, whatever it may be confident in it. And that's going to take you so far. There's nothing worse in the world than submitting your application and just feeling like you are not going to get in. You put in this work into this application and you're not sure if you will or will not get in. Do everything you possibly can, whether that means starting 6 months earlier or whatever it may be. Sometimes you have to fake it until you make it. That's what I always say, especially when it comes to confidence. I can say with 100% when I submitted my application to the University of Houston, I really felt like I was going to get in, and that's because I checked, double-checked, triple-checked everything. It's really great because you've put a lot of hard work into your applications, and this is the next step in your career. But that's all I have for you guys, and I really hope that you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, y'all, and can't wait to see you in the next video.